Personal branding is the foundation to everything in your business. And I'm going to show you why and how on this episode. I really wanted to start with this because I think we're going to talk about so many things on the podcast. We're going to talk about visibility. We're going to talk about how to make more money. We're going to talk about mindset. But the thing is, if we don't understand what a personal brand is and why is the foundation to everything, and it takes effort and it takes time, it's the long-term game to actually grow in your business. And you're not going to do anything if you don't believe that what you're doing is actually worthwhile. So I want to start this by actually talking about why I believe that personal branding is the foundation to everything. So have you ever wondered why people buy from you as opposed to somebody else, or vice versa? So for example, when there is two people that do the same thing, come on guys, there is a million personal branding coaches out there, but you're here, you're listening to me, you're watching to me on YouTube, maybe you're on my Facebook group. Why are you following me over somebody else, right? And I think this is the question that a lot of people don't ask about themselves. So the answer comes down to your personal brand, and we're going to try to unpack all of that, and I'm going to try to give you some tools today so you can start doing that for yourself. Hi, my name is Ati Greenspan. I'm a personal branding coach and photographer, and I'm here to help you build a brand that stands out, that it doesn't dilute yourself, that you don't get a scroll over, and that you actually love showing up for. Okay. I love helping my clients and my followers and my audience to really stand out, build a brand that you love, attract clients that you love working with, because come on, you guys. Who likes to work with clients that we don't like? None of us, okay? So, and to make more money and a bigger impact in the world. So let's start talking about what a personal brand is, right? Because if we don't know what a personal brand is, how are you even going to build one? So my belief is that every single one of us already has a personal brand. No matter where you're at, if you just started your business, you have some sort of reputation that is preceding you, right? Now, building your personal brand, or what is actually a personal brand, is actually being intentional about that personal brand. So let me get a little bit more into this. I think that all of us start our business or we have this passion, and we pick what we want to do based on something that we are really passionate about. Maybe you saw not only the opportunity to make money, but you saw the opportunity to help other people doing what you're doing, right? So when you start your business, maybe you were a stay-at-home mom for a long time. Maybe you were in corporate for a long time. Maybe you were a bartender. I was a bartender for 20 years. So when I turned around and I became a photographer, people saw me as a bartender, right? Now, there is so many things about my life before as a bartender that I brought into my brand that make me who I am. But the thing is, if I wasn't intentional about building my new brand at the time, this was like 10, 12 years ago, as a photographer, people would have kept seeing me as a bartender. So building your personal brand and having a personal brand is all about being intentional about putting information out in the world. And I don't want to say just social media. I want you to know that I believe that you can build a brand on and off social media, and you should be using a combination of both. That's how we teach it. That's how I love teaching my clients how to do this. But you have to be on the driver's seat when you are putting information about who you are, what you do, the clients that you serve. It's your responsibility to actually put this information in the world. And that is how you build your personal brand. So what I want to bring with this is so why then your personal brand is the foundation to everything? So here's a few questions that I want you to kind of go into. when you buy a service, and just so you know, I specialize in service providers, so coaches, realtors, we have real estate investors, we have mostly service providers on our programs, because this is where your personal brand becomes most important, because people are buying you. So let's go back to these reflection questions that I want you to have on the back of your mind as we are going through this, right? So number one is, how do you buy? How do you buy? How do you actually make this decision that we talked about earlier, right? Like, how do you decide to go with one person, one coach over another coach? Or how do you decide to, maybe you go get a facial and you keep going to that person, and maybe you have been seeing the same person over and over and over for a few years. I have a really cool story about actually my hair person. Like, hair is super important to me. I have a ton of hair, and for many years I've seen the same person, but for some reason when I went to see that person, I always had a headache, and I wasn't really aligning with her. Like, and I was constantly in the lookout for another person. Now, she was amazing at what she did. The way she did my hair was incredible. Okay. And I saw this person for a long time, but I was always looking for somebody else that could do that task the same or even close. I didn't even care. And then I found somebody that did the blondes, and I went to this person and I really like her. And yeah, she wasn't really amazing at what she did, but I stuck with her until I found the person that does my hair now. And this is what happened. This person that does my hair now, not only she's amazing at what she does, because I want to tell you this, your personal brand can only carry you so far, right? You can have an amazing personal brand and marketing plan, but if you don't deliver on your services, none of what I'm teaching you is going to work. So you have to be in integrity with the service that you offer, and you have to strive to be the fucking best. So that for me is a given. I am assuming that every person in this podcast is really going towards being the best to their ability at the moment of building their personal brand. Now, you're going to grow, you're going to evolve. You don't let this stop you. However, you have to constantly be striving and be in integrity with the service that you offer. So going back to my hairdresser, when I found this person, not only we are aligned, I like her. Literally, I sit on her chair and we can't stop talking. Like, we see business in a very similar way. We see life in a very similar way. We are both really go-getters, and the way we're growing our businesses, all of that. And for me, and I want to add this, she's really expensive. Okay. However, for me, she's worth every freaking penny, because I am not there because just of my hair. Every time I went to my original person that she was really good at doing hair, it hurt to pay her because I didn't love her. I didn't like her. Right? There was something that wasn't there. There was not a connection. Now, when I say I don't like her, actually, I want to bring you back to, how do you actually buy, right? Who do you buy from? I want you to start actually thinking about this on the back of your mind. Because when I ask this to myself, to my clients, the answer is always, you buy from people you know, you like, and you trust. Right? People that are in alignment with your values, with who you are, you have things in common. Now, what happens is, if you are hiding behind just your product or service, what happens is you're never giving the opportunity to people to really get to know you and to actually differentiate yourself in the market. And that is when you become unmemorable. Nobody really remembers you, like, because you're just like everybody else. There is nothing to remember. So let me give you an example. if you are a hairdresser or you are a realtor, and all you do is talk about being a realtor, the reality is that there's a million realtors out there, right? Where people can go and have them show them houses. It doesn't even matter. But the reason why people go to you over somebody else is because of who you are and your expertise. We're going to get into this in a second. So what I see a lot in the market is brilliant, amazing women, amazing at what they do, hiding, right? Because they can bring themselves into talking about the things that are important to them, into talking about what makes them different, into talking about why they care about helping their clients. So I'm going to actually give you very specific things for you to actually do after this podcast and like to think about, so you can actually start putting these things together. So in order for you to put yourself out there and be the person that somebody will pay more for their products, or that they will come back to you no matter what, there is no like doubt in their mind that you are their go-to person every single time for what you do, you have to talk about the things. You have to talk about the things that make you different. You have to talk about the things that are important to you. You have to talk about the things that actually are not your product and service. Maybe you talk about why you deliver your product and service in the way you do, because that is a personal touch, right? But that is how you actually build your personal brand, and why is the foundation. Because the problem is that if all you do is like, here's my product, here's where you can buy it, here's how much it costs, why am I buying your product, or why am I buying from you over somebody else? So these things that differentiate you do not need to be hard. So for example, I like to describe it like this, right? And I'm going to move my chair. I want you to think of you putting your flag your stake in the ground, and this is your way, and this is the reason why you do it this way, and you are so convicted, you have such a huge conviction on the way you do things and the service that you offer, and why your way is the way, that people can subscribe to your vision. People can just subscribe to why you deliver what it is that you do the way you do. So for example, for me, that is be you. I know that when I started my business, the biggest thing was I kept looking outside and I kept looking at what other people were doing. And I wasn't really truly looking at who I was, what I brought to the table, how I was different, how my own experiences were shaping how I was helping others, not just how I was showing up, but how I was helping others. And be you is at the forefront of everything I do. That is why I'm actually going through a life coaching certification. Now, not because I'm going to become a life coach, because I know that many of you, the reason you're not doing what I'm actually talking about, which is putting your personal touch, talking about your life, talking about the things that are important to you, is because you do not believe at some point that your voice matters, or you don't believe that there is something so special about you. And the truth is that there is. The truth is every single one of us has something special or different that doesn't need to be that complicated. It doesn't need to be that story of like life and death situation. However, is relatable to the people that we want to help, is relatable to the people that we are working with. It's relatable because we are 2 steps ahead, okay? So how do you get started, right? So now you know your personal brand is your reputation, is what do you want to be known for, right? Your personal brand is what do you want to be known for? And it takes a little bit of commitment, because there is a ton of people out there talking about being multi-passionate. I'm going to tell you guys, I am super multi-passionate, right? I love sports. I got started on the health and wellness side of coaching. I was on network marketing, but the thing is that our mission, and it's always at the top, right? What do you want to be known for? When you can describe that first, then you can say, okay, from here, I can get started. If you don't know what you want to be known for, how do you expect people to remember you? Because I want to tell you this is a phrase that I use all the time, is repetition is the mother of reputation. Repetition is the mother of reputation. If you want people to remember you for something in particular, the only way for you to do that is to repeat yourself over and over and over. And I don't mean this by you having a product, and I have this stevia here, I'm gonna use this, and being, wow, look at my stevia, buy my stevia. That is not what repetition is about. It's about talking why things are important to you, why you do what you do. And I'm going to give you a framework, okay? So the way you get started is you take the time to get clear on what your personal brand is, okay? You take the time to actually do these things. I don't want to get too technical here on the podcast because it's not truly a training, right? But this is what I see a ton of the times when it comes to building your personal brand. I teach it as you have your personal brand strategy. There is 3 phases: personal brand strategy, your visuals, which are your photos, your logos, your colors, your fonts, and then you have your brand marketing. And in your brand marketing, you are going to, is where your social media is, your blog is, you speaking, maybe you having a book, maybe you put together an event, maybe you, I don't know, you create a networking group. Those all are marketing strategies, okay? Now, what are you even marketing if you haven't sat down to figure out what your brand actually is? And this is where most women get stuck. Now you start your social media, which is a marketing strategy, and now you're like, okay, I gotta post. Well, I don't know what to post. I don't know what to say. But the problem is not you, and the problem is not your marketing. The problem is that you never sat down to actually truly get clear on what your personal brand is, okay? So there is 2 reasons why you want to get absolutely clear about your personal brand. And is number 1 is going to give you clarity. It's going to give you a path for you to follow and to get less in your head, because you're going to have a guideline. You're going to literally is a piece of paper or a document where your whole brand lives, that you can use that in order to create content, in order to make decisions, in order to, maybe you get offered something to do and you're like, okay, does this truly fit my brand and what I stand for and what I want to do, right? On the other side of the brand clarity is your ideal client, is your audience, is your people, is the people that are receiving you on the other end, either reading you, listening, whatever it is that your medium is. If it's not clear what you do and how you're different, and you're putting all the things out in the open, people are not going to buy from you, because we already established that people buy from people that know, like, and trust. People buy from people they feel aligned with. People buy from people they understand. People buy from people that when they listen to them, they're like, this person gets me. This person is speaking to my heart. So I ask you, how many of you are on this confusion path where, like, you don't know what to post, your business is not growing, you have an offer, and you're confused, you're constantly in this confusion, and you're putting content out there, maybe you're posting, but the truth is that that's your only plan. You don't have a true brand identity that people can fall in love with, okay? Which, by the way, that is how you create raving fans. That is how people follow you no matter what. That is how, when you put anything on the market, people want to buy from you because they trust that what you are putting out there is what they need, right? So without getting so freaking technical, I want to give you 4 things for you to think about that are going to help you to get this clarity, okay? Number 1 is your expertise. your expertise, when we said, okay, what do you want to be known for? That is a little broader, right? That is not just your expertise or your product. Like for me, I know I want to be known as the personal branding coach and personal branding photographer. Number one, I want to be known as the best. In order to be known as the best, I have to become the best. I have to constantly be educating myself. I have to constantly be ahead of the trends. I have to understand my client. I have to, there is so many layers, right, to be in the best. But what you want to be known for is not your expertise. Now, for me, my expertise is personal branding, social media, personal branding photography, and mindset, because I know that many of you are going to listen to these 4 steps I'm going to tell you right now, and you're going to say, well, I already knew that. Well, you're still not doing it. The reason why you're not doing it is because there is some limiting beliefs. There is something that is stopping you. There is doubt, there is fear, there is all the things. So for me, it's very important to be known as the person that can help women overcome those obstacles, so then they can actually put these strategies in place, right? Because a lot of people that come to me, they already work with other coaches. They already done courses on social media, all the things, and they're still not doing anything, right? Or they're still not seeing the results. So number one is your expertise. And your expertise is like, I'm going to keep using the realtor example because it's so easy and everybody can understand it. So your expertise, you can be a realtor and you can be all things to all people. It's pretty much impossible to be all things to all people, or you can pick a niche. Now, I don't want to necessarily talk about niching down. I'm going to do a whole episode on niching down and what my point of view is on that. You can also pick a mission. It's something to anchor you on. And I always tell people, pick something that all the other little things can fall into place underneath. So for example, under personal branding photography is how I started coaching on personal branding, right? So I mix them up all the time. So for you, what is that expertise? What are you an expert at? You do not need to be an expert at a ton of things. You can pick one to anchor yourself in, okay? And then all the other things can fit into there. So for example, I talk about my mindset, I talk about discipline, I talk about journaling, I talk about video, I talk about speaking, I talk about books, I talk about podcasting. All of those are under building a personal brand. I talk about visibility. I teach visibility, right? But that is not what I'm telling people I'm an expert at. I chose something at the top, that personal branding umbrella. What is your expertise? Now, for you, if you're a realtor, this could be the senior market, right? This could be first-time buyers. This could be people that are selling and buying at the same time, because they are downsizing, because they are empty nesters. So this could be, let me give you another example. So because I don't want it to be just about realtors. For example, I have actually this one client. She is a real estate investor, right? And her whole thing, it's about private mortgage lending. And she educates people around this. Why? Because even though her business is all about flipping, right? And she does also multifamily, she is raising private capital. So don't quote me on the private mortgage lending. I might have butchered the name of that. But what I'm saying is, now she could have said, oh, I flip homes. But what she's looking for is people that want to invest with her, right? Like she wants people that can actually help her close more deals. She's looking for partners, right? So do you see how like she took one thing and she's going with that one anchor? One more example, so you can actually envision this for yourself, is for my hairdresser, for example, for my hairstylist. Even though I go to her for color, her thing are extensions. She is known as the indisputable best in my town for extensions. And she talks about color because you have to put color on the extensions, but she talks especially about that. That is her specialty. That is what she is growing in. She even teach other people how to do the same. So I hope this helps. One way for you to right now, like as you're listening, have this idea about what your expertise is, I would ask yourself, what are 3 things that you can talk about right now? What are 3 things that you could pitch yourself to go do a training in front of other people? What can you turn on your camera on your phone right now and talk about? That is your expertise. And then you start building around that expertise. So that's number 1. Number 2 is your story. This is, and guys, this is like a complete episode that I'm going to do, because your brand story is the reason you do what you do. So I am sure that you heard before, and if not, you can go and get Simon Sinek's What is Your Why? I believe that's the name of the book. People don't buy what you do. This goes back to the example of if you are a hairdresser, people are not buying just you doing their hair. They're buying the whole thing. They're buying you. People are not buying just me being their personal branding coach. They're buying me. They're buying me helping them through it. People tell me all the time, it's your energy, it's your energy. And that you cannot pinpoint. The same is going to happen to you when you start putting these 4 steps in place. So your story, your brand story, is the reason you do what you do over something else. You could have done anything for a business. However, you're doing what you're doing. I invite you to start thinking, okay, what is the reason I started this over something else? What happened in my life that actually inspire me to do this over something else? This is so important. Usually this story is so much deeper than you think it is. However, I also invite you to not get too much on your head and think that this story needs to be life of that situation a little bit. If you heard episode 1, I think, or the trailer for the podcast, I told the story of the first year that I went full-time in business was so dark. And these things that I'm teaching you were the things that I needed. Like, I didn't have any direction. I kept literally putting just like photos up there and waiting for people to hire me. I wasn't putting value. I wasn't talking about how I was different. On the mindset side, it was very dark, because when you start a business, there is an identity shift. And my identity shift from being a world champion flair bartender to being a personal branding photographer at the time was so vast and different, right? So I want you to start thinking, what are the things that made me do what I do, that actually my ideal client possibly is going through the same thing? That is how you put your brand story together, okay? And literally, when you think about it, every product that I offer, everything that I'm doing, my event coming up, right? Like Be Your Brand Live, it's all about community. I felt so lonely when I first started my business. So everything falls under my values, under the things that I know there is other women going through the same thing. So I want you to think, what are these things for you, your brand story? And are you actually telling this story? Are you going on social media and doing a post about this and saying, hey, this is the reason I love doing what I do? And you repeat it all the time. And it's part of when you introduce yourself at a speaking event, or you introduce yourself at a podcast, or you go to a networking event, right? You talk to somebody and you're like, when they ask you, why do you do what you do? Oh my God, this is my story, right? So without this story, there is nothing. You're selling something that has no soul. Your brand, your personal brand is your soul, okay? Number 3 is your conviction. This is, like you heard me a few minutes ago say, is your flag in the floor and you're like, this is the way. I know, you guys, that many of you are going to listen to this podcast and you'll be like, oh, that was so inspiring. And you're never going to do this work. And you're going to continue to be confused. You're going to continue to have products that don't make sense, that they sell a little bit, right? But not the success that you truly want to have, the difference that you want to make in the world, like impacting more people, impacting with a different depth. That happens on your conviction. I hear from women all the time that they feel like they are chasing or that they have to kind of like hunt for clients. When you start getting really clear about what your conviction is, that starts changing and it starts turning around. And I'm going to tell you why. Because people buy from people they know. Okay, so you're talking about yourself, you're talking about your expertise, you're talking about your story. Now they get to know you. They like you, they either like you or not. And this is where many of you think that you need to be likable to everybody. You don't. There is people that no matter what you do, they're not going to like you. That's okay. They're not your audience. They're not there to buy from you. But the people that do like you, which this is a hint for the next step, is people like you. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. People like you. That is why you telling your story is so freaking important. That is why you talking about yourself and who you are and how you got here and why you're doing what you do over something else is so freaking important. Okay, so your conviction is what is going to separate you. So when we talked about your expertise, there is many people that are going to have the same expertise than you. Nobody can have your same story and live it the way you live it. And most likely, nobody's going to have the same conviction that you. So you have to start writing down, what are the things that you see in your industry that are bullshit? What are the things in your industry that you're like, you know what? This is fucking bullshit. For me, for the longest time, is like social media is the only way to grow your personal brand. Guys, social media is the glue. For another episode. But I want you to know social media is only just one tool, right? It's not the only tool. You can be on social media all over the place and not have these things as being part of your content strategy, and it will never work because you're just spamming people with like, buy this, buy that, save 10%, call me for a quote, I can beat whatever, right? Because if you're selling on price, you're not selling yourself, okay? So your conviction, the way you're going to do that, I want you to ask yourself, what are things that you see in your industry that you do different, that you think about them different, that maybe you have experience with, and now you have an opinion. Start talking about your opinions, go forward with those, and attract the people that already feel aligned with those values and those opinions. And you will never be chasing a day in your life, okay? And the last one, but not least, is you. Who are you? What things are important to you? What are like the things that you do on the everyday, right? That for me, my business is like 80% of my life, right? I'm always in business, but I also do things for fun. I also have a kid. Like I volunteer with a giving circle. Those are all things that are important to me. Now, my business for me is not just the products that I offer. My business, my brand, which is me, is how I show up in the world. How am I like showing up to inspire others to go after their own dreams, how I support others to feel like they're worthy to achieving all those dreams. So for me, sometimes I show up on a weekend, I'm not working. I'm literally speaking from my heart. Like today is Labor Day weekend as I record this podcast. And I woke up and I'm like, I can't wait to record this, right? Because I know that somebody needs to hear this message. So what parts of you can you bring? But also, if you want to make it even more strategic, maybe there is things that you're doing in your life, right? Example, let's always lead with a story. I have a client, again, she's a realtor. I don't work just with realtors. It just happens I have a lot of realtor stories because I feel like everybody understands them. But this is the thing. For the longest time, she was looking for her niche. Now she loves helping first-time buyers, and she also loves helping people, investors, and she loves, however, the one thing in her life that she absolutely loves doing is running, okay? So what we did is we branded her around that. And she does a lot of videos in different areas of the city, and she reviews how where you can run. Is it safe? Is it noisy? Is it pavement? Is it trail? All these different things, right? Around running. And a lot of the relationships that she develops are around running groups. Why? Because that's her. That's what she loves doing. She wants to be around people she likes. And do you think these people will trust her when they're like, hey, I am looking for a house, but yes, I do run every single day, and I don't want to be driving in order to be able to run in a safe neighborhood or having a trail or having whatever it is. So do you think that people are like her? They like her because they are like her. Okay. So I want you to start thinking about all these things, and I want you to start writing them down and weave them into your content. Weave them when you go to a networking event and you talk to people. Weave them when you're telling a story. Weave them when maybe you're doing a training, right? Start telling stories around these 4 things: your expertise, your story, your conviction, why you're doing the way you're doing it, and who you truly are at your core, and how you became that person. So I hope that this episode really inspire you. And this is the thing. We started the episode talking about why your personal brand is the foundation to everything. And yes, people buy from people they know, they like, and they trust. And that is probably how you're making decisions without realizing. Like, now you have reflection time to actually think about it. But this is the thing. We all evolve, and maybe at some point you want to pivot, or maybe at some point you want to go really big. And when you are growing your personal brand with who you are, with your values, with your conviction, you give yourself also a space to pivot, a space to where it's not just about your product, right? It's not just about the one thing that you're selling. Then with time, you can add other products, you can add other lines, you can add, let me give you an example. So for me, I have the Be Brand Academy, and I have a photography membership, and now we're looking at adding video courses because a lot of our people are asking for it, right? And I do video all the time. They're like, hey, how do you do that so easy? And I'm like, okay, this is a need in my market because I'm doing it. I haven't even positioned myself like that, like a video coach, right? So I want you to think of your brand as the mark that you're going to leave behind in the world, okay? As the mark that you're leaving behind in the world. And your products and your services all fall under that. I gave you a ton of stuff to think about. I hope you're inspired. And I want to leave you with one more thing, because I think that we have to say it. We all want to make more money, right? We all want to grow. We all want to have abundance in our life. When you truly grow a personal brand and you become this person that people know, like, and trust, people truly are open to paying premium prices to work with the go-to person, to work with the person that is speaking to their heart, okay? So not only you get to demand higher prices, you also get to do it in a way that is fulfilling, that is in alignment, and that truly changes the world. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next time.